Hello, INTPs. I had a lot of ideas flowing through my head. Um, See here, I wrote down a little list of what I want to go through. Um, so I'll go into this and see how the thoughts go. First thing I want to say is uh, the thing that I've shared in the past few videos of NESI instead of TE, explore and reflect instead of decide and plan, has me thinking this: you don't need to be consistent. Consistency is often, oops, can you hear me? Yes, is often an excuse and a barrier. And I'm sure you can relate in that in your attempt to be consistent, you're quote unquote consistent for 1 week, and then you miss a day, and then you say, oh, I guess I didn't really do it at all, which is quite logical if you think about it. You did it 7 days in a row. But this consistency idea, this consistency idol, can really be a barrier to what we do. Speaking to myself here, I didn't post, in the last 2 days or something? Completely fine. Completely fine. And I'd like to erase that idea, in my opinion. Let's see. Again, I think this is a very ESTJ idea, or SI DOMs. SI DOMs are all about consistency, and they're all about sharing colloquial wisdom that everyone else said, so it must be true. I say to you, TINE things, you don't need to be consistent. In fact, and here's the reason. Here's another reason why. Because as an INTP with TINE, you're not going to want to do what other people have done. And so, what you do is going to lead you. Let me see if I'll write this out so that you can read as I say it. What you do is going to lead you to shift identities constantly. Ideally, all kinds of people will have to do this. What you do is going to have to lead you to shift identities constantly. You can think of there's all kinds of examples I can give you. Hold on. If I think of an example, I'll tell you. But this is absolutely what I've experienced in my life. Shifting identities is expensive. It's expensive for your spirit and your mind, such that sometimes you just need to wait. And when I need to wait and I try and hurry up, I need to wait even longer. And so I'd like to tell you and remind myself, there's no consistency to be had here. There's no blueprint for being a YouTuber. There's no blueprint for sharing knowledge. Knowledge comes when knowledge comes, right? That being said, I could post whatever I want. I can post whenever I want. And I propose that for INTPs, if you tell an INTP that, they're going to post every day. And they're going to be quote-unquote consistent without even trying. And then the SI Dom is going to say, look at that guy, he's so consistent. And that guy said, what, huh? Because it doesn't even register what that even means. The other thing I was thinking about is, I think this idea of spirituality, there are so many other ways to say it, but I'll use that term right now because that's where I'm approaching it from. But it's a very common idea. Identity shifting, plant the seed and let it go. So one example I can think of is the Steve Jobs quote, here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs and square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them, but the only thing you can't do is ignore them because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius, because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones that do. I think there are many quotes actually by Steve Jobs that you can associate with INTPs. And that's one of them. And I'd like to talk a little bit about something that I've been theorizing for INTPs, and I'm going to say in general, I think in general, the human race lives far below potential. And a big reason why is because we look to each other to see what's possible, and we think each other is right. And each of us speak about what we've heard as if that is the truth. It's one huge echo chamber. And I'd like to talk about how that influences an INTP, or negatively affects an INTP. I think the natural makeup of an INTP, as I say, is I don't know what's true. Let's figure it out. Number one, introverted thinking, and putting the pieces together, and then number two is let's start from nothing and see what we can find. Extroverted intuition. Those two together is very much the quote by Socrates saying, "I know that I know nothing." So if an INTP is allowed to grow up as their natural selves, they would be wandering, doing things without just wondering, just trying stuff out, constantly just tinkering with everything. However, I think what naturally happens in this SI-dominated world and ESTJ world of systems is people say, no, don't do this. We've already figured it out. Do this. Do extroverted thinking. Be efficient and go straight for the solution. And the INTP would naturally say, why? And I've done that so much when I was a child. I would rebel so much and just say, tell me why. But the world is built as one big echo chamber where we're following each other's systems. And so we have to follow this. And we can't naturally follow this. Instead, what we do is we say, okay, I'll do it for you. I'll do it for you, extroverted feeling. So we block this and we allow this. And I think what happens eventually is, since we do this all the time, we're always tired. We're always tired and we're always lost. We're always just waiting for someone to tell us what to do in this realm of things. And what I feel I'm explaining in this podcast, in this channel is, hey, do this. F everyone else. Drop this. Do this. And what I found in my life is, when you do this for real, people just assume you know what you're doing, and they get out of the way. As long as you hear out, okay, you hear the first few mentions of this, but you let this go, so you're full on in this, and you produce results that no one else can. In Steve Jobs' words, you change the world. You change the status quo. You don't fit in, and you just naturally change the world. And that's what I feel the INTP role is. So how to link that back to spirituality? I think, again, right? What naturally happens to a lot of INTPs, I think, is they just get stuck in this extroverted feeling. And to rediscover themselves, they want to do this. Now, how do you rediscover yourself? Well, that's why I explored spirituality. And here's one quote that is very spiritual. Internal victories precede external victories. This is from 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey. Covey's not a spiritual guy, but he's essentially saying what spirituality is talking about. When I say spirituality, I'm talking about like law of attraction, law of assumption. If you know it, if you can see it and you know it inside and you've said it to yourself over and over until to the point where you are sure it's happening, then it will surely happen on the outside as well. Another way to think about that is identity shifting. Identity shifting. And I'd like to outline that a little bit. Identity shifting without spirituality is possible, right? If you just try and do it. However, it's going to be very rocky. You're going to do things and you're not going to know why, and you're just going to do them. And here's hoping that you see some results so that you can rely on the results to continue. But what's far more powerful, in my opinion, is know it is done, see it is done, and live by it. That's the spirituality way. And that's done with visualizations, affirmations, and an understanding of what you currently are confident about. Your current confidence has no evidence. It is merely what you have grown to accept. So you can grow and accept something new. Something else I've noticed is plant seed and let it go. What I'm saying here is one of the things I started telling myself every day in my affirmations is I have awesome fashion sense. I spent a lot of my life not thinking about fashion at all. And what they say in these spirituality teachings, Neville Goddard and stuff is, know it's done. I have awesome fashion sense. And then let it go. And one logical way I can explain why that must be done is, it's like planting a seed. When I plant an oak tree, then I simply know it's planted. And I can come back. I can water it every day, sure. But it is only after coming back after a year do I start to see a tree. That's not to say that it takes a certain amount of time. However, knowing that I have awesome fashion sense, sitting in that identity, doesn't immediately create the fashion sense. It simply allows my mind to know, to feel, to be in that, and to see it. And what I've noticed happens is now I can look at what someone's wearing and I can say, oh, I can see that. One very clear example is, so I took Neuro Knowledge's course, right? I took Neuro Knowledge's course, and Neuro Knowledge takes a lot of time making his stuff look good. And because it looks good, it feels more valuable to me. It feels like money better spent. Let me see if I can find it. So I'll show you real quick. Like that. His visuals are very clean. And just because of that, it feels more expensive. I've gone to high-end luxury hotels. I went to the Park Hyatt. I went to their bar. 90% of what I pay for is the atmosphere. And I've started, here, look. I started decorating myself with more expensive stuff. And I can just feel, especially after this exploration of the unconscious mind, how much it can unconsciously shift people's view of me, view of perhaps this channel. It's just another, perhaps you can reflect on that. You can reflect on what this effect influences in your subconscious mind. It's just another tool to influence people's subconscious. They will treat you differently, not rationally, but perhaps if you walked into a high-end restaurant, you know what I mean. I also went to Cheongwade yesterday, which is the Korean White House. Beautiful, huge rooms. And I just know that leaders coming to visit the Korean president in a place like this let me find this. In places like this, is a completely different experience than if they met in my apartment or something. These realizations could only come to me after sitting in the identity of I have awesome fashion sense. So I've come to see that you first sit in the identity, and then the seeds sprout into shoots, into insights and realizations that you wouldn't have if you viewed yourself a different way. So I reflected on to you and ask you, what are some ways that, ideally you wish you were like that, but there's a part of you that says, no, I'm not. You can say, I'd love to have a lot of money, but money doesn't grow on trees, You hear that block? You hear that subconscious block? First belief being blocked by the second thought? It's weird. The subconscious mind is very strange that way. That's something I'm passionate about, and I am exploring so deeply, because it just feels like my calling, and it feels like a very big unlock for INTPs. INTPs were not built to just adhere to this current system. INTPs are here to ask the question, what else is possible? One tool for finding out what is possible. First of all, everything is possible. Any world record that was broken this year, in 5 years we'll realize, we thought that world record was so huge, it was actually nothing. I mean, that's Stephen Curry in the NBA today, making way more three-pointers than anyone thought was possible. Roger Bannister running the 3-minute mile. 99% of that was mental. It was identity. It was him and the people with him saying it's possible. So I'm talking to this invisible barrier that humans have, saying of trying to be reasonable. But what I've learned through this exploration of spirituality and how humans naturally think, and how everything that we think is real right now is based on other people's experiences and what other people have told us. It's just one like lukewarm soup. It has helped me come to realize that reasonability doesn't exist. Reasonability is the ultimate irrationality. What I can rely on instead is what I see in my own mind as true, and I can pursue that. That is an extension of spirituality. Again, or as I said last time, this current identity you have, it's just a state of mind. It is just what is currently living. You can let that die. You can step into a new one. And from the INTP perspective, what we're most comfortable in is what we know is logically true and what we remember. But hey, you can step into this. You can find out what else is possible. What I've come to see is anything is possible. And I intend to demonstrate that, or not demonstrate it. I intend to simply lay it out here and show you and learn in person, or learn in person and explore in person. Show you what I discover and be a beacon for the INTP lifestyle and the value that it brings the world. That's it for today. Hey, it's coming together. The fashion sense is coming together, and I'm still working on it. I'm still working on it, but it is already done. Here's to 1 million subscribers. And Here's to the life of your dreams. See you next time.